our second class. This class will study about ISO and more details. So what is ISO? ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization, not International Standardization for Organization. International Organization for Standardization. ISO develops standards and guidelines for the industry, not only product, also services. And ISO published standards, it does not issue any certificate. So how certificate is issued, and from certificate how we can find the validity of the certificate. What does it mean? Actually, there are hierarchies from International Accreditation Forum to local accreditation body. In the Philippines, PAB. In Korea, KAB, like that. There are members of IAF. And under local accreditation body, there are certifying body, or we can say certification body, any same. They are the one, certifying body is the one who issue certificate. So let's check what is ISO certificate validity.
Today I will tell you how to check your ISO certificate, whether it is accredited or unaccredited, whether it is a valid certificate or it is not a valid certificate. Let's first understand the ISO hierarchy. The first body is IAF. IAF stands for International Accreditation Forum. All the countries are member of this IAF forum. The website of IAF forum is iaf.nu. Now here if you click on the link IAF members and signatories, then you can see the list of all countries which are member of this IAF. So first one is IAF and second is accreditation board of different countries. Then there are certification bodies in all the countries which give certificates to the companies. So these certification bodies should be member of this accreditation boards which are the member of IAF. Now let's understand the logos on certificate. All the certificates normally have two logos. First logo is for accreditation board and the second logo is for certification company. So your certification should bear a combination of these two logos. DAC, Dubai Accreditation Center, and the certification body is BMS Cert. Now after this, let's see how to check the validity. Well, in present scenario, we advise you that you check the validity of your certificates. You may check the validity of your certificates from the accreditation board. Some of them maintain online record that is publicly visible as by JASNs, or you may email them. Let's see how can you see the emails of different accreditation boards, or you can get details of the different accreditation boards. On the IAF members and signatories link, you can see the all accreditation boards of different countries. Like if you click on India, then you can get the details of NABCB. So this is the Accreditation Board of India, which is a member of IAF. Similarly, if you click on Dubai, then you can see Dubai Accreditation Center here. So for Dubai, this is the IAF member, and here you can see the contact details. So basically, you can email them to see the validities of certificates, or you can visit their websites, that is iaf.nu. In case it is not maintained, do not check from certification company. Let it be forwarded to accreditation board. The certificate should be checked when you receive it and every year or maybe 6 monthly. If you do not find yourself on online register of accreditation board, or you are not able to get reply from accreditation board, then you should forward the email to info@qcin.org and nabcb@qcin.org with CC to accreditation board. So please forward this video to create a.
So we can see what is the legit ISO certificate. There should have IAF logo together with local accreditation board and also together with certifying body. So if there is no IAF logo, that means that is not international ISO certificate. That is only local certificate. Let's see ISO 9003 sub-quality system standard. Let's take a look. Okay, let's see again. 1987 ISO 9000 series had 9000, 9001, 2, 3, 4, the 5 standard. In 1994 and revision 2000, introducing concept of process approach. So 9001, 2, 3 replaced by single ISO 9001 2000 version. Then after that, revision for edition became 2008 is minor changes. The fifth edition is currently 2015 version. And 2015 version also employs the process approach. Which is incorporate plan, do, check, act, PDCA, and risk-based thinking. So let's check what is a PDCA. PDCA is really famous even in inequality in other industry. So let's take a look about the PDCA. Yes, PDCA is created by Deming. So we can call it Deming cycle. Plan, do, check, act. Please remember this. Yes, many organizations before they certified ISO 9001 2015 version, they can say we have a good system. Yes, we don't need to change anything. But in fact, it's okay. But we are recommending to have concept of QMS and implement QMS to their system. And what is the biggest benefit for the QMS? Plan what you want to do, follow the plan, monitor, measure, and analyze your execution of the plan, and improve the plan. And also, a well-designed and well-implemented quality management system can and should eliminate these things: ineffectiveness, ineffective efficiencies, problems, errors. So now let's think about standardization. What is it? Why is so important?
Okay, benefits of standardizing. Number one, this you're going to hear me say this over and over again. It reduces overdependence on specific people doing specific work. That's your goal. You want to reduce dependence on specific people doing specific work because that creates job traps where people get stuck doing the same thing, and when they leave, your growth stops because you've got to regroup, and it could take months for you to regroup. You know what that's like. You could just imagine it. Also, this is so important. It creates a healthy employee culture because it avoids those typical issues where employees start hoarding knowledge and holding your organization hostage. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. Instead, everybody becomes a full partner in wanting to grow the business so that they can assume more and more and more and more interesting opportunities. And here's a very important one. Having good, well-written SOPs, standard operating procedures, establishes a baseline of excellence that can be improved. So let me share a little graphic with you, okay? So let's just say that the flag right here at the top of this mountain, that's excellence. That's what you're driving towards. You can't get there today, right? You're somewhere here, and you're pushing this boulder, right, up a mountain. You're getting better and better and better. You started down here. But here's your goal. If you don't have systems and standards in place, you're going to backslide. All it takes is one person to leave your organization and that boulder starts back at the base. But if you have good procedures and systems in place, acts like a wedge that prevents the boulder from rolling backwards. And as problems and issues creep in, or you get an innovative idea to make it better, or you just continue striving to continuously improve, you'll be able to push that boulder up higher, but you're going to have to update those SOPs and systems because that's your wedge, and it prevents that boulder from rolling backwards. Makes good sense?
Okay. So now we understand why we need standardization. Can you remember hostage situation there? That means some employees, they hide their own method or skills, not in documentation. So they use it as their weapon. They cannot fire me. They should increase my salary, like that. But if you have good standardization, your organization no need to worry about those kind of situation. That means. And for the standardization, let's see more simple example why we need standardization and why that is so useful. Let's think about this. So we can see why we need standardization. Actually, that is related with Pokayoke. In English, we call it foolproof. Foolproof means even foolish people cannot make mistake. In TPS, Toyota Production System, they call it Pokayoke. So that is related with standardization. So now we see why we need standardization and why so is useful. So now we know what is the importance of ISO 9001 QMS. And we are talking about implementation. So for the implementation, it's not easy for that because we have our current system, but we have to improve it. So for the implementation, let's take a look this one first. Steps involved in certification. The first one is gap analysis. Gap analysis means we have to check between ISO requirements and our organization's status. What is the gap? What is the problem? We have to declare it. Then after that, orientation training for requirement. Then after that, starting documentation, manual, procedures, and formats. Then after that, implementation, putting the quality system to practice to your organization, the actual. Then company-wide training. Do you remember TQM and TQC? Yes, it's all about engagement. Training on ISO 9000 requirement and manual format is company-wide training. And after that, we have to check through internal audits. Before internal audit, we have to train a team and conducting periodic assessment of system implementation. Then after that, we have to adjust or improve the lacking points. Then after that, we can get third-party audit, that is for certification. Do you remember Certifying Body? There is three audit type. The first is internal audit. Second one is second party audit. You can audit to your supplier. And the last one is third party audit, that is audited by like certifying body. So this is for the certification. So let's see. Implement.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Best Practice TV. What we've got for you here is a short little series of how-to videos, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to implement ISO 9001. Stay tuned. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. What we've got for you in this little video and this little video series is how to implement management systems, and in this one we're talking about how to implement ISO 9001. So I'm the CEO here at Best Practice, and I'm thinking back to when I started the business, and I'm thinking about all of the systems I've looked at, and we've talked about it with the team. We've got a couple of little top tips and tricks for you to follow in terms of going through that process and understanding what it is that you need to do. So I've got my smelly marker pens here. They're Mr. Sketch. They're absolutely fantastic. They work amazing on this butcher's paper. So what I'm going to take you through is a couple of top tips. So let's get straight into it. Where would I start? Where would I recommend that you start? And the first thing I'd recommend that you do is some reading. And most importantly, grab a copy of ISO 9001 from the standards web shop at ISO, which is www.iso.org. So that would be step one, is some reading. Now dropping down, okay, so you've done the reading, you know you need to do ISO 9001, you really want to know how to do this. I would recommend starting with an internal audit or your own little gap analysis in terms of what you need to do to understand what's the standard, how does it apply, and learn through the process. But importantly, what we're looking for ultimately when you implement that system is a whole bunch of evidence. So why not get started straight away? Do not, and this is tip number one, do not go and write lots and lots of policies, lots and lots of procedures, get a whole bunch of templates. You get too caught up in what you need to write down. So recommendation, tip number one, start with an internal audit. So that's step one here, internal. Now what you can do is you can jump onto the Best Practice Training Academy web portal and download an ISO 9001 checklist. There's checklists there for the standards. They're easily accessible, and you can use that. So it's got the criteria down one side, and it's got a spot to write any notes. What you're going to establish is if you can't answer a question, it's obviously a gap. That's going to give you some things to focus on and make priorities. So the second thing, obviously, to do in terms of tip number two, and this is moving really quickly through how to implement ISO 9001, is talk to your stakeholders. Who might they be? They might be the executive management of the business. They might be the manager that's asked you to go look at ISO 9001. It might be you. They might be your customers. They might be your regulators. Have a think about what their needs are. And it's really important to start to convene your system and start to assemble your system from day one. Now, once again, I'm saying don't go and write lots of documents. Just start with this process. The documents will come later on. So, in the context of thinking about your stakeholders, I want you to think about the opportunity to conduct your very first, and this is after you've done your internal audit, management review. So that is step number two. Now out of that, we can start to think about risk-based thinking, and we can do some analysis. So step two is undertaking your management review and thinking about that process. So we're doing our reading, we're doing an internal audit and a gap analysis, and it doesn't have to be perfect because no one's checking up on you. You're going to start to build into this project. Bring that across with your stakeholders. Now, particularly the senior management or top management in your organisation, assembling them for half the amount of time that you think you need to. Just a short meeting to get them across what you've found and start thinking about risk-based thinking. You can read about risk-based thinking in the standard. You're moving down into that. So you can sort of take this offline yourself and start building out your risk analysis and undertaking this risk analysis that we talk about here, but the management review and keeping a record. So your internal audit, keep a record. You can use our checklist from our website as the record. Management review, set of meeting minutes would be your record there. I'm going to use a different colour. We're going to say minutes. That's our evidence there. Our internal audit checklist is here. Our risk-based thinking register is the type of evidence that we're looking at here. So we're starting to already build our management system. So what do we do next? Well, obviously there's going to be a couple of things. This management review and the internal audits start to establish our cycle of continual improvement. So moving right along over here, we can start to talk about our business plan. Now you might say, hey, I work for a massive organisation, I'm not involved in the business plan. Well, that's not ultimately what we want to see. We want to see the management system tied into the business. Now in the absence of a business plan, you can use ISO 9001 as the business plan, but what are we really focusing on here? And let's use my green pen again, is we want to know what the objectives and targets are. Now there's lots of videos here on YouTube and on Facebook and all that sort of stuff, and lots of reading about SMART, objectives and targets. I'll let you go and Google that. That's a really great idea. What I'm giving you is the how-to, in terms of a flow, start to implement and build out your ISO 9001 management system. So we're talking here about business plan. So the business plan, particularly, we want to see the objectives and targets. Now we've got another process that's starting to occur over here in terms of our risk-based thinking, and what we want to start to identify over here is our controls. And you can start to look and identify those as part of your analysis, engaging with your stakeholders. So your stakeholders, and let's just put a dotted line over here, will help you to specify what the controls are. Now the stakeholders could be staff, managers, anyone working in the organisation, suppliers, contractors, to build out and manage those risks that you've identified. So you're thinking, wow, this isn't actually looking like a quality management system at this stage. What's the how-to? This is the how-to, because what we want to see the management system. We don't want to see all these documents. We want to see that there's a self-evaluation cycle in place, which is your internal audits and your management review, and we want to see an improvement process in place. So what we can start to do over here is start to capture improvements. So my suggestion over here is we're starting to talk about an improvements register, for example. So this might be a register, and we can talk about, non-conformances, opportunities for improvement, all those sorts of things. So that's what this is all about over here. It's capturing those improvements, and the standards talk about corrective action, preventative action, all those sorts of things. Now those improvements, they're going to feed back into management review. Okay, making sense? Now spilling out of that, we've obviously got controls, and there's a bunch of other things we can start to look at. We can look at training, we can look at training as a way to have people implement the controls. Policies, procedures, work instructions, guides, all those sorts of things. These are all different ways to have people manage the risks. So it's all about this risk management here in the context of management review. So I hope that's all making sense. It's a really basic how-to video for you in terms of implementing ISO 9001. Thanks for joining us here at Best Practice. Don't forget to jump over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's lots of great stuff happening on our Facebook page, and there's a bunch of great stuff happening on Instagram. Little how-to stories, you get to see how this business runs, little tips and tricks throughout the day, and you get to see us running Best Practice live. It's a great little place there over on Instagram. So I hope you enjoyed our how-to video on ISO 9001.
Okay, this is really useful because in ISO we are recommending this way, and he's explained more specific actual practice. And who are certifying bodies? There are a lot in the Philippines. They are certifying bodies more and more, but they are the famous one. I'm working here. And how about the validity of ISO 9001-2015 version? So that is normally issued for 3 years. 3 years meaning once you get certificate, there is a issue date. For example, is issued 2020 May 20. Then the validity of the certificate is 2023 May 19, like that. So that is 3 years. And the surveillance audit can be 2 yearly audit, meaning twice a year, or once a year. It depends on customers. Normally, our customers take once a year. So for the schedule, it's just normal because this one can be adjusted by the status of the organization, our customer, and how they follow well. It depends. But this is the standard. The first one is gap analysis, orientation training together, and system documentation, system implementation, and the training, internal audit first, and pre-assessment, and do internal audit again. Then after that, final assessment, and after this, it's ready for get third-party audit. That's for ISO certification. Okay, let's think about documentation. Actually, documentation is really important in ISO. So there are documentation system. Let's study more in our third class. See you on third class. Thank you.